MEGHAN collapse. Archetypes add fuel to the fire for Sussex's breakup in the US. Well, folks, it looks like this little house of cards is finally tumbling down. Whatever MEGHAN does cannot be accepted at face value at this point. Now, of course, people have gotten wise to her. People know what is up with her. MEGHAN told us that Archetypes was the #1 podcast, but now we're finding out that Spotify canceled it because it failed to reach the top 100. Obviously, as we suspected, the ratings were manipulated. A pissed-off Spotify exec said this lackluster performance cannot be tolerated any longer. It looks like everything really is falling apart for MEGHAN. And I'm sure she heard all about Harry telling everybody when he was in London for court, Chelsea Davy was the one big love of my life. Then, because of press intrusion, she broke off the relationship. And that made all of us laugh at MEGHAN because it is pretty funny for him to admit that Meghan Markle was his second choice. Harry finally did get the wife that he deserves, though. Doesn't really matter how many more fake awards she buys herself. I don't think anything can put the rictus grin back on her face. Obviously, she is not happy anymore with the dimwit. Harry's appearance in court was also shockingly self-destructive. I mean, his own lawyers must have been hoping for the ground below them to open up and swallow them up as quickly as possible, hearing him say everything that he said. On his last day of testifying, Harry said, "I brought the lawsuit against Mirror Group newspapers to end the absolute intrusion and hate against my wife." It apparently slipped Harry's mind that the case was simply about phone hacking before 2011, before he had even met the mattress actress. For me, though, the best line had to have been, "Oh, I cannot prove the newspaper hacked my phone. It's up to them to prove they didn't." What in the world is wrong with him? Does he hear himself? Is this some kind of big joke? Honestly, I cannot wait until the judge just throws this whole thing out and lets Harry know that we're not buying his BS. Now, obviously, Harry's an idiot. This is not news. And if MEGHAN really told Harry to say he's protecting her by filing a lawsuit against the Mirror Group newspaper, well, it blew up in their faces big time. Because now everybody knows that it was really Chelsea Davy who he wanted to marry. How humiliating must that have been for MEGHAN? If I were her, I would never want to be seen out with him again. But that serves her right for everything she's done. And as for Harry, well, I don't feel sorry for him. He deserves all of this. Nobody respects or loves somebody who abuses elderly people, which is exactly what he did to his late grandfather and his late grandmother. And even after being with MEGHAN for years now and supposedly having 2 kids with her, the fact that Harry can still mention another woman as the love of his life tells us a lot. I mean, if he's willing to dump all of his family and friends for his second choice, just imagine what he would do for Chelsea Davy, his first choice. I kind of wonder, though, why he didn't wage this war against the media back then. Surely it would have been a lot easier than ditching his own family. If you ask me, Harry doesn't really love Chelsea Davy or Meghan Markle. I think the love of his life is actually himself. And it is pretty fascinating that some people, along with Harry, claim that he wanted out of royal life before Meghan entered the picture. Well, why didn't he marry Chelsea and just go live in Africa or wherever? I don't believe that she wanted to marry Harry because she understood what he was really like and she didn't want to be with him. And I think MEGHAN was all wrong in her approach. I think she was just trying to use what she had been using in Toronto, like her small-time grifting skills. But then she found herself on the worldwide stage and all the media was focused on her, so her little cons were exposed. See, back in Toronto, some of her grifts were actually exposed, like the fake stalking, but nobody really cared because she was a nobody. In the beginning, even I thought she seemed like a nice girl, and I was happy for her and Harry. But soon enough, her grift became obvious, and I figured out her lies and her con moves. And now she disgusts me, she and Harry. There is nothing that she can do to redeem herself at this point, except for admitting to everything that she has done, apologizing publicly to the royal family, to her own family, to the people of the UK, and then the entire world. And then she can go back into that dark hole she crawled out of, and I hope that we never have to see her again. So okay, back to Harry's court case. What kind of lawyers actually accepted this case when he doesn't have any evidence? I wonder what it was they wanted. Oh, maybe it was money. It is interesting, huh? We truly live in a rich man's world. Harry's lawyers just view him as this cash cow. They know he's not going to win, but they know they'll win because of all that money in their bank accounts. So they're just encouraging him because they're making millions, and they are laughing all the way to the bank. And I do think it's wrong for them to use Harry in this way. I mean, surely his counsel briefed him, but it looked to me like he was just making things up as he went along throughout the entire cross-examination. He was way off the case details most of the time. He was just complaining as usual and making all these personal references and insults about people who were not even involved in the questioning. His legal team, I'm sure, finds him pretty difficult to work with, but as usual, Harry's not going to listen to any good advice. Looks to me like maybe Harry was taken for a ride. I mean, that Sherburne guy and his team are making a lot of money whether they win or lose. So are they concerned? Absolutely not. And the thing about it is, you can warn and inform a client all you want, but if they are determined to make a mess of things, well, as the legal letters for payment say, continuing to carry out your instructions. It's obvious that Harry's lawyer, David Sherburne, stands to benefit as he's chasing these celebrity clients. So obviously, he is just allowing Harry's suspicions to equate to guilt on the balance of probability. And that is over 51% in civil suits, actually. All the evidence that Harry put forward is basically just a declaration of it's suspicious, and a small number of invoices that are certainly not specific enough to make a difference. Harry also admitted that he never really considered filing this lawsuit until Sherburne suggested it, and so he is admitting that he doesn't have any real recollection of most of the examples cited. Harry is just demonstrating again that he's a patsy for anybody who is smarter than him who has an agenda. And this is a problem that some people experience when they are raised in an environment of entitlement, of bowing and curtsying, and they have this sense of superiority like Harry has. Sadly, people like Harry do not have the intellectual strength to deal with it and to put it properly in context, and understand that they only find themselves in this position because they just so happen to be born into this position. I'm an American, but I am still so upset about this absurd court case. It is costing the taxpayers a lot of money. If I were a citizen of the UK right now, I would be protesting this because it's so unfair. Honestly, folks, if they expect you to pay for this traitor's court cases, then I think you should get the titles in exchange. I see this as somewhat of a fair trade. I understand why the king doesn't want to take the titles away. We deal with the same race card nonsense here in the US, and everybody knows that Meghan is the queen of pulling the race card. But I think these two need a swift kick in the rear, and then a one-way ticket to the insane asylum because they have completely lost the plot. This is somewhat of a cautionary tale, though, for parents and parents to be all over the world. Take a look at this idiot, and please know that this is what happens when you raise your kids to be spoiled, rotten brats. No good can come from spoiling children so badly that they grow up ignorant of the ways of the world. Actually, my grandson is a lot more mature than Harry, and he's only 10 years old. And you, what do you think about Harry's court case? Please tell me your view below in the comments section. Remember to like and share this video with your friends and relatives who would enjoy it anytime you want if you preferred our video this evening. And don't be afraid to subscribe to our Kate Middleton and the Queen News YouTube channel to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you in the next videos.